Woolite and Ace absolutely didn't trust Garret, but they did, however, believe he believed his own emotions. Woolite in his day had seen these monsters hollow people out like coconuts and stuff whatever beliefs they wanted into them, so he couldn't trust him to be genuine. So long as he kept him at arm's reach, he was willing to give it a try. Woolite finally let Ace and Garret in on what his plan was because they assumed he may not have been getting enough of what he needed and hoped that they may be able to jumpstart the investigation a bit further. It was Woolite's belief that if it was in fact a prototype car that the initial bloodsucker drove that brought them to Furlong, that this monster may have attempted to stay current in the racing scene. If that was to be believed, Woolite reasoned that people might actually find unusual racers that operated at night. With Furlong's long history in racing, if you were in fact so inclined, this was the city to be in if your blood dripped diesel. There were, of course, a handful of racers that fit the bill for Woolite's hypothesis, and they managed to find racing headshots of most. Ace asked Garret if any of these people happened to be the vampire that attacked him, nearly killing him a week back. As much as Garret wanted to know who was who, the thing that attacked him that night was so broken and monstrous, he couldn't identify what it might have looked like. Garret could tell that Ace and Woolite had devised a plan and had countermeasures or even cut-off points before they called an investigation, but they didn't seem as if they were anywhere close to telling him where their lines were. They figured that if they were going to find out who was man and who was monster, they would have to get a bit closer to it than they liked. Woolite didn't particularly like to talk to monsters. Even the most mundane interaction between them could rob you of your free will, and even if you happened to run afoul of a fighter, they still had the blueprint for tracking you down. Whether they used magic or the computer, it didn't much matter either way. Elliot furiously cranked the lug nuts on his wheel. His eyes burned with a deep passion. His car demanded constant attention that could never be ignored. One piston firing off timing could mean the difference between a win and a loss. There was no music in his garage, no pit crew, just him, his car, and his obligation. The sounds of the track roaring overhead was all the music he needed. Something broke him from his almost zen state of mindfulness. Footfalls came. His obligation told him so before he heard it. "How many?" Elliot asked. "3. 2 approach, 1 stays behind," whispered a voice into his ear, sound without a body. "What do they want?" Elliot whispered to he who was not him. "Hard to know, but I do not like the look of the old one," said the voice to Elliot, who continued his work. 2 younger men approached Elliot, both dressed in their thrift store finest. The one who was the bigger of the 2 was first to speak. "Hey man, are you Elliot Knoll?" "Yeah, why?" said Elliot. "I noticed that you have a tendency to race at night almost exclusively," said the muscular man. "The way this city is set up, there's a long list of drivers that only race at night," said Elliot, who continued tightening his tires. "Have you seen anyone who had a silver prototype car?" said the big man. Elliot stopped, as if that question intrigued him for reasons he wasn't sure of. "You're talking about the crash last week and the quote-unquote vampire attack," declared Elliot. The big man nodded while answering. "Yes, it did have something to do with that. That car damn near hit 300. That much I know. Before I answer any more question, who are you 2? The big man said, "I'm Garret." The littler blonde man said, "Ralph." "I'm curious why you're asking me about it, and who are you 2? Elliot asked again. "I'm Garret." "No, who are you with? Why you asking?" Elliot asked. Garret struggled to think of an answer to his question. "I'm a private detective." "You 2, Elliot interrupted with a scoff. "Is there anything weird going on with racers in Furlong?" questioned the man who identified himself as Ralph. "You have to be a bit more specific," said Elliot. "Monsters. Have you seen monsters?" said an old, but fit man with wild, unkempt white hair. Elliot laughed. "You three need to get the fuck out of my garage," Elliot said, standing up with his wrench still in hand. The old man put out both hands in surrender, more a performative surrender than an actual one. He backed out, as did the other two. "Why did you just blurt out monster?" asked Garret to Woolite as they walked through the lower levels of the stadium where the modern-day vehicular gladiators tended to their cars in their garages. "Expediency," said Woolite, who didn't seem as if he was going to really get into the whys of it all unless they drug it out of him. "I felt something there, inside of his garage," said Ace. "What do you mean?" Garret asked. "Don't know exactly. Sometimes I get feelings when something isn't quite right. I don't know what you call it," said Ace. "Biters?" asked Woolite. "No, didn't feel like it, but I couldn't tell." "So, you just get a premonition or something?" asked Garret. "No, not really. Just feelings. Might not even be him. Could be something around him or the area. Can't really explain it," said Ace. "We stick on this one for a spell and see if he leads to something," said Woolite. Elliot pulled his Remick out of the garage. He didn't typically drive it home because he didn't like the attention it brought him. He navigated the underbelly of Olympian Fields with a calm reservation. Adjusting the mirror, he noticed the transparent afterimage of eyes that were not his own. "Those men were hunters, I think. From the looks of the old man, he's probably been at it a while," said the disembodied voice to Elliot. "You think we were the target?" Elliot asked himself. "Doubtful. Maybe whoever that bloodsucker that wiped out last week. But, end of the day, they don't need much to turn their attention on you. Speaking of which, watch that black Superbird 2 cars back," said the voice. "Not tonight, damn it," said Elliot with frustration. "It's the night. We go," said the voice. His tone grew desperate. Elliot's foot hit the gas. "Hold on, goddammit," Elliot yelled. "We have to go," the voice demanded. Ace didn't know if he was made or Elliot was just the type of driver that raced even when he was off the track. "Your call," Woolite said to his younger partner. When it came to driving, Ace was like a dog with a squirrel in his sights. He couldn't not chase. He took off like a shot after the forest green Remick. His engine growled. The Superbird kept pace with the Remick for a short while through the cramped streets of the serendipitous Fate District. The Remick did an expert spin out that comboed into a drift and got onto the north side fairway, moving eastbound. Ace did a tactical spin so tight he had to pull the emergency brake for extra drag. Woolite was in the back seat holding on to the grip near the window with a face that housed an unusual calm. The chase continued and the 2 cars weaved in and out of traffic. It was unclear if the Remick was even aware it was being pursued. It moved as if it were on a mission, as if spurred on by a higher power. Once Ace got clear enough, he figured that the only way he was going to get the green beast to stop was to hobble its legs, sort of speak. He reached under his seat and pulled a pistol in hopes of getting a clean shot at the tires. "Take the wheel for a sec," said Ace. Garret nervously took control of the beast. He had never gone so fast in his life, let alone drove from the passenger seat. Every time Ace attempted to level his pistol, another car went between them. It was either now or never. Ace risked the shot, but it merely sparked off the pavement, barely registering. Garret caught a flicker in his eye. He couldn't maintain this pace for much longer. He looked away for a fraction of a second and saw the moon bearing down on him as if it had eyes to see him. When he looked back, Ace violently snatched the wheel. The Remick made a hairpin turn behind a truck and onto an off-ramp that spiraled out of Furlong towards Heathrow Marches. "Fuck!" Ace yelled as the supercar sped away, lost to the night. "You can let go of the wheel now," said Ace to Garret. "I can't really. You two don't see it?" said Garret. Woolite motioned for his pistol to end Garret before he rode them off of a cliff. Ace looked at Garret's eyes, and they flickered white as if the moon reflected them like mirrors. "We've been chosen," said Garret.